Your assistance is important. We need your assistance to continue producing interesting material. Because 90% of our readers have not yet subscribed, please click the notification bell and subscribe. Please share your city in the comments section below to let us know where you're watching from. A woman named Olga lived in the charming town of Maplewood, where the crisp autumn leaves swirled in the breeze and stories of love and loss seemed to flow around every corner with a smile that could brighten even the most dismal days. Olga was the picture of elegance. She had always been the kin person in her community, a passionate tech cook, an enthusiastic gardener, and a loving wife too. Lily was a commit software developer who frequently got absorbed in the realm of algorithms and codes because of his demanding work schedule. Olga was left to take care of their comfortable home and pursue her interests. Even though they enjoyed a good life together, Olga couldn't get rid of the monotony that had crept into their marriage. Conversations about finances and housework had replaced the formerly lively chats about goals and hopes. The pivotal moment occurred over a weekend cookout at their house, where friends congregated beneath the setting sun and laughing reverberated. Lee's college friend, Anna Sophia, who had just returned to town, was one of the attendees. Anna Sophia was vivacious and daring, adding a vitality Olga had known she needed. As the evening went on, Olga was captivated to Anna Sophia's contagious energy and began to remember their shared adventures in college days. Do you recall the time we got lost while traveling by car? Olga's eyes glistened with nostalgia as she smiled. How could I have forgotten? I had assumed that we would wind up in a different state. Anna Sophia answered, the sound of his laughing filling the air like melody. Olga and Anna Sophia had more in-depth discussions as the evening went on, discussing their goals and dreams. Olga connected with Anna Sophia in a way that was both thrilling and frightening, while Lily was busy grilling and talking with other friends, if only briefly. It seemed as though their spirits had entwined. Weeks that followed read like a well-written book. At first they pretended to be talking about a community project that both Olga and Anna Sophia were interested in, but they soon started meeting more often. These gatherings soon became into coffee dates and lengthy park walks, during which they discussed their worries, hopes, and thoughts. For the first time in years, Olga felt heard, seen, and understood as they walked through the colorful park in bright afternoon. Anna Sophia turned to face Olga with a sullen gaze. Sometimes life takes us in unexpected directions, Olga. It's acceptable to persweppiness. His meaning-laden remarks lingered in the atmosphere. Olga experienced a flurry of feelings, including joy, bewilderment, and a tingle of shame. I'm in love with Lily, but Shepow's turning her head away sometimes. It just feels stuck. Anna Sophia's voice grew softer as he moved closer. You're worthy of feeling alive. Everyone does. Olga's internal conflict intensified as their bonded. She loved living with Lily, who was good-natured and encouraging. The excitement of her developing friendship with Anna Sophia, however, drew her in. The thrill of slipping away for confidential encounters and snatched moments beckoning addictively. The consequences of her decision started to weigh heavily on her. Olga began making up reasons for her absence from Lily, who was blissfully oblivious to the emotional turmoil that was developing inside his wife. Although Anna Sophia was a reminder of the lively lady she used to be and a source of joy in her life, the guilt still tore at her. Olga once looked at their wedding picture on the wall when she was cooking Lee dinner one evening, almost like a faint echo of a long-lost dream. The smiles that were captured in that moment seemed far away. Olga's heart was heavy with doubt, yet the kitchen smelled like her favorite food. Olga, is everything all right? Lily inquired as he walked into the kitchen, grinning broadly and blissfully oblivious to the disorder inside of her. Yes, she said, trying a smile. It was just a hard day. Olga continued to feel disconnected while they watched their favorite show on the couch. Later that evening, it seemed to her that she was leading two separate lives. She became more and more detached from the life she had created with Lily. With every moment she spent with Anna Sophia, Olga found herself at a turning point. As the weeks stretched into months, it was both thrilling and suffocating to be in a covert relationship with Anna Sophia as she struggled with her emotions divided between her burgeoning affections for Anna Sophia and her commitment to Lily. The boundaries between right and wrong became hazy. Olga and Anna Sophia were gathered under a awning outside a charming cafe one rainy afternoon. There was an unspoken tension in the air as they both paused to reflect on the seriousness of their predicament. Anna Sophia whispered, gently breaking the silence, Olga, I can't act like this link doesn't exist. We seemed destined for something greater. Olga thought about what he had said, and her heart pounded. She was acutely aware of the repercussions, but she was also drawn to the promise of a fresh start. She was troubled by The idea of hurting Lily, the man who had supported her through the very thing. Olga's voice trembled as she suggested that perhaps we should back off. He is not treated fairly. By this, a glimmer of disappointment appeared on Anna Sophia's face as his demeanor changed. However, what about us? How about what we already have? Olga's inner battle grew more intense. She was aware that in order to make a decision, she would need to face her emotions. Hence came to the realization that her decisions would determine who she was and how her future and the lives of others she cared about would be shaped. Olga experienced an amazing sense of clarity as the rain came down all around them. For Lily's sake as well as her own, she had to face the reality her life's complicated strands were coming undone. It was time to confront the fallout from her decisions. Olga's inner distress was reflected in the steady drumming of the rain on the cafe roof. She had stepped back from the swirl of feelings and cravings that had started to overwhelm her. She felt the burden of her choices bearing down on her shoulders like a thick shroud as she gazed into the bottom of her coffee cup. Olga battled to maintain equilibrium throughout the next few days. Like a lovely perfume, the excitement of her covert rendezvous with Anna Sophia lingered, smarring but enticing. She hid their remorse that threatened to rise under affectation of normally every time she came home to Lily. Lily had observed Olga's slight changes in attitude. He was observant of quality he frequently praised, but he blamed her aloofness on seasonal blues or work-related stress. In an attempt to reconnect with her, he stepped up his efforts and organized a romantic weekend trip. Although Olga was grateful for that gesture, it made her internal conflict worse. What about spending this weekend at the lake, Olga? Lily's eyes gleamed with excitement as he proposed on evening. Only the two of us. We ought to take a vacation. I believe the idea of flying to him made Olga's heart race. So she contrived to grin. Lily, that sounds fantastic. That would be wonderful. Olga's worry increased as the weekend drew near. She was aware that she needed to face her emotions, not just for herself but also for Lily, who was entitled to the truth. She ended herself sitting on the edge of their bed the day before their trip. She was carrying the weight of the entire world. Lily, she said, her voice trembling, can we have a little conversation? With a worried expression on his face, Lily raised his head from his packing. What's on your mind? Of course, in preparation for the discussion that had been simmering for weeks, Olga held deeply. I've had a sense of disconnection. I believe there are some issues in our relationship that need to be addressed. Lily's face changed, showing a mix of worry and bewilderment. What are you saying? Does it function? Are you not happy? The words stopped in Olga's throat as she hesitated. It isn't that easy. We seem to have lost something in the process. Olga suppressed her tears as Lily listened. She felt as though she was walking a tightrope between being honest and being betrayed. Warm and comforting, Lily reached for her hand. Olga, we can overcome anything. Tell me how you're feeling, please. Olga was overcome with love for Lily, the guy who had supported her through so much at that very moment. However, she found it difficult to speak back as the truth was a burdensome subject. Anna Sophia and I have been spending time together. I can't deny that he fell in love with him, even if it began simply the ensuing hush was deafening. Lee's face changed from worry to surprise, and he relaxed his hold on her hand. Have you been dating Anna Sophia? How were you able to? With tears in her eyes, Olga said, I didn't mean for it to happen. He was there and I felt lost. I never intended to cause you harm. Lily's face dropped, the agony in high sighs piercing Olga like a blade. Olga, I trusted you. How could you violate that confidence? Olga's voice broke as she spoke. I'm so sorry. I know I've made mistakes, but I must tell you the truth, whatever it takes. I want to resolve this. Lily got to his feet and paced the little room, his feelings rowing. Are you in love with him? Gravity weighed down the inquiry that hung in the air. Olga felt her heart pound. The truth wasn't nothing she had to face. I'm not. Saray is important to me, but you are loved by me. My husband is you. Is that sufficient? Lily's voice was strained as she asked, does love compensate for betrayal? His words weighed down on Olga like a blanket of lead. Now that she had broken the trust they had developed over the years, she had to deal with that fallout. Lily, I don't want to lose. You'll go to any lengths to put this right. Lily halted his pacing and turned to face her, a mix of grief and rage visible in his eyes. Olga, you've given me a choice. I need time to reflect. Olga was struck with a deep sense of grief as hell left the room. There was no going back now that she'd unlocked the truth. Pandora's box, a bitter reminder of the life they had created together. The weekend getaway loomed ahead when they reached the lake the following day. That tranquil beauty stood in sharp contrast to Olga's inward anguish. The way often spoken words weighed heavy in the air between them, and Lily stayed far away. Olga attempted to strike up a conversation with him, but he gave brief, truncated responses. Obviously distracted, Olga stood on the porch as evening descended. watching the sun paint the sky in shades of pink and orange as it sank by and the horizon. She experienced a wing of nostalgia for their previous bond, their shared dreams, and their longing. Olga, her thoughts were interrupted by Lily's words, which brought her back to the present. The last off, the sun softened his look as he went outside. "Can we have a conversation?" They were sitting on the porch steps when Olga nodded, her heart pounding. "Lily, I apologize for everything. I didn't mean to offend you." With a groan, Lily combed through his hair. "I simply cannot comprehend how this occurred. Did we not feel happy?" Olga, speaking little above a whisper, acknowledged that we were, however, somewhere along the line. "I forgot who I was. I was mistaken to believe that Anna Sophia would help me discover that aspect of myself. And now?" Lily inquired, looking into her eyes for clarification, feeling the weight of her decisions bearing down on her. Olga held deeply. "What we had I want to rebuild. If you will give me a chance, I would like to fight for us." Lily thought about what she had said, and his silence was deafening. At last he said in a steady but painful voice, "Olga, trust is not something that can be readily restored. I need to know that you're dedicated to make this work because it takes time." With tears streaming down her cheeks, Olga answered firmly, I'll stop at nothing to regain your confidence, Lily. You have my affection." There was a glimmer of hope in Lily's eyes. Despite the obvious tension between them, he extended his arm to grasp her hand and gave her a light squeeze. "It will take time, but I want to believe you have to take it all." And the stars started to sparkle in the night sky as they sat in silence, serving as a reminder of the beauty that persisted in their world. Olga was aware that the path ahead would be difficult, but she was herself to walk it. With Lily, weeks passed while Olga and Lily dealt with fallout from her treachery. They went to couples counseling where they started to work through the problems that had caused Olga to turn to Anna Sophia for comfort. It was a difficult but essential trip, full of breakthroughs and frustration, while Lily focused on comprehending Olga's wants and desires. Olga learned to communicate her sentiments honestly. Brick by brick, they started to construct their foundation, although it was a difficult process. Both were dedicated to recovery and development. Olga, meantime, had to make the painful choice to break up contact with Anna Sophia. She was aware that seeing him would only make matters worse. They had shared countless dreams and giggles at their favorite cafe, where she met him one afternoon. Although Anna Sophia greeted Olga with a kind smile, Olga's heart was heavy. "Anna Sophia, we need to talk," she stated in a calm yet melancholy tone. His face changed, and his eyes briefly flashed with worry. "What's the matter?" Olga's heart ached at the words. "I've decided to focus on my marriage. I am no longer able to see you. We have to get to work on re-establishing me relationship with Lily." Anna Sophia's expression darkened with disappointment. "I get it, but it doesn't make me feel any differently." Olga fought back tears as she said, "I know, but I have to be honest with Lily and myself. I can't continue to live a lie." Olga experienced a wave of grief as they said goodbye. She felt a new sense of repose, but she also had to grieve fourth relationship that may have been. She was making the decision to defend her marriage and recover the once burgeoning love. Olga and Lily worked through their troubles for several months. They rejoiced in little things like laughing together at supper or going for walks together without the burden of unsaid words weighing them down. Their perseverance was demonstrated by the fact that every day was a step closer to recovery. Lily turned to face Olga on evening when they were sitting on the couch, a smile piercing the darkness of their history. "I've watched you develop so much during this process. Olga smiled, a sensation of love spreading through her heart. "I'm proud of you. I'm grateful, Lily, although it has been a road. I appreciate your understanding and patience with genuines." Lily grasped her hand. "I want us to continue developing as a couple and talk it back and touch more deeply." Olga answered with a determined tone, "Me too. You want to rekindle the happiness we shared, leaning against one another